Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. I have Liam George, the former Luton Town striker, and Adil with me today. We'll be discussing England's fantastic win against Ukraine. And the more time that goes on, it seems like it's coming home. I'm sure Liam wouldn't agree too much, but Liam, what did you make of the game?
Fantastic result. Again, it all depends on how you view football, your perspective, but ultimately, you've got to go out there, do a job and win a game of football. And I think we get judged on that. That's what we expect these days. So in that case, England have passed with flying colours and been amazing tonight.
Of course. Adil, what did you make? I mean, in terms of the decision to go with Sancho this game and not Foden?
Yeah, I thought when I had the rumor on Sky Sports, and so far they've got it right every time. Like literally, they do it daytime and they get every single lineup right. So they definitely got good sources in the England camp. But I was really happy because it's the perfect game. I mean, Ukraine's left back is Milenko is actually their weakest player. If you look at the games previously, he's struggled and he didn't play last game. And they moved Zinchenko then, they looked a lot more solid. But he's the weak link. So I was really happy that they went with Sancho. And I feel like, yeah, I mean, he needed to get involved. And it's the perfect game for him, really. So, yeah, a good decision. Another great call from Southgate.
Liam, I mean, it was the perfect start for Harry Kane. Getting a goal in the previous game gave him a bit of confidence. He was struggling at the beginning. I mean, that must have been giving him even bigger of a boost, really, getting that goal so early on.
Well, again, I don't think it's a struggle thing. I mean, I'm saying this all along. It's very easy when someone isn't doing something we expect them to do to start talking about their fitness and start talking about fatigue and tiredness. And I just didn't think he had any service. I mean, Harry Kane's a player that wants to be in the game, even if it's touches, coming deep, laying the ball off, making runs, spraying balls about. Now, if you analyse how many touches he had over those first few games, players like to flow, you know, in most positions, and especially creative players and strikers, we like to have this sense of feeling everything, knowing where the goal is, it being instinctive. And that comes with touches. And when you're getting a touch every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes in the wrong areas, you then start to try and force things to happen. So I didn't think that, I mean, player doesn't lose their fitness in 2 weeks, you know. So when I hear people say he doesn't look fit, he's played 40 plus games for Spurs this season, you know, and sometimes when he's not moving particularly great, but it can't be a lack of fitness because he's played consistently for however many years besides his injury. Sometimes it's literally about him not getting the ball in the right areas to look explosive, to look dynamic, and then trying to find himself doing things that he's probably not very good at and being so far away from the positions he actually wants to be in. So he always looks a yard down, but he's working too hard somewhere else on the pitch to actually get the ball and still not getting it, which can be very frustrating. So getting a goal is all strikers ever want as a reward. So he'll be delighted.
Yeah, I mean, getting two. Do you think Adi we're playing a bit more to his style in terms of getting the ball in with Luke Shaw playing as a left back? I mean, he seems to be pinging that ball into him more than usual.
No, I just think England are starting to get a bit more fluid in their attack now. I think the first few games, it was more about being careful, not conceding, and I think Southgate, was deliberately not trying to start the tournament too fast, too quick, and I just think now you can see the attacking patterns, the confidence. Obviously, the results are the main thing. Confidence is everything. But now you can see they're trusting each other more. They're passing the ball more. And the best thing is the timing of the passes are better now. Because in the previous games, similar pictures were there, but players were holding on to the ball for too long. Now, even if you look at the first goal, how many times in this tournament we've spoken about it, where Raheem's got into excellent position, just doesn't release the ball at the right time, and then the player ends up being offside. And then you look at today, the confidence that he sees the ball, plays it straight away, goal. So I think England, in terms of the attacking, the rhythm is there now. They're starting to build relationships and obviously Raheem and Shaw are now understanding each other better. So I think that's what it is. That's the difference. I think naturally Kane would benefit from that.
In terms of Jadon Sancho, what did you make of his performance today? Coming in, obviously Saka was injured, Foden was playing in the beginning. What did you make of his performance today, Liam?
I thought it was okay, but I think it's very easy when you beat a Ukraine team that, let's be honest, they weren't fantastic. They didn't really pose any problems. They didn't ask any questions of Kyle Walker or Jadon Sancho going the other way. And if I was going to be hypercritical, we're talking about world-class footballers here. I mean, he's just about to go to Man United potentially for 70 to 80 million. So, I mean, for me, someone just keeping the ball and having a couple of exciting 1-2s now and then, I mean, I could be a little bit of a football snob, but when you start throwing world-class labels around for me, Ronaldinho springs to mind. You know, Lionel Messi springs to mind. Neymar springs to mind. I mean, we're talking about... So I don't know whether I'm then expecting a lot of these guys. Did he do okay? Of course he did. But did he have any real problems? No. Was he under that much pressure? No. But let's be honest. What did he create? So if I always look at wingers and forwards and these creative players, the Grealishes, the Fodens, the Mounts, the Sterlings, and my argument with everybody is, what is he creating? That's the question I'm asking, because for me, end product is so overlooked. Assists and goals are why we play the game. So did he play okay? Yes. But I want to see a Jadon Sancho with 2 assists and a goal. You know, that's when I'm going to start to say, well, this guy impacts football games, you know, like we've seen Cristiano Ronaldo do over the years, like we've seen Lionel Messi do over the years, like we've seen Lewandowski and Neymar and even that second echelon of kind of world-class players. You're looking at ridiculous numbers. And I don't see that right now. So maybe I'm very harsh on the England team, but the Grealish, most dribbles, most fouls, that doesn't mean anything to me, because most dribbles could mean he gave the ball away the most times or got to the end of that dribble and passed it to his left back. Doesn't mean anything. You know, most fouls, well, he might have lost control of the ball, just about nicked it and got a contact, you know. So I'm back to forwards, creative players, they score goals, they get assists. So I always measure them to the Kevin De Bruynes of this world, those types of players. And that's where stats are really important. Every other stat for me doesn't really matter. So we've done okay, but I really want to see these guys making massive, massive impacts in games.
More of an impact than what they have. Like what Sterling's been doing. Yeah.
I think the key thing is not getting carried away and thinking every England player or attacking player is world class. But I mean, that's the thing, that they have got immense talent. And they are playing okay, or quite well. I thought Sancho played well today in the best that he did, but obviously in terms of assists and goals, obviously he didn't get in on that shot. The one chance he had, unfortunately, he hit straight at the keeper, that swivel volley, which ended up being offside. But I think it's just a positive thing that whoever comes on, they seem to be playing freely at least. Obviously, I do think today's game was the easiest game for Sancho to play, because one, their left back ain't good, but two, they went to 5 at the back system, so he always had the space to get the ball worked into him. So yeah, I think a lot went for Sancho today, but he still performed okay.
In terms of England and their next fixture with regards to Denmark, what could Denmark pose? What threat could they pose? Obviously, they're massively favourites to a lot of people because of what's happened with Christian Eriksen and so on and so forth. What do you make of that game, Liam? Could England struggle against them?
I mean, it's a semi-final of a European Cup, so a lot of factors: confidence, fatigue, squad management, systems. I mean, this is what makes the difference between the greats and those, the nearly rans. Denmark, of course, they have to respect it. People forget that they've won the competition way before England have. They won in '92, I think. You know, so they've got pedigree. I mean, Højbjerg and Eriksson and even Christian, some of their team will be very familiar with the English players. Do they have the same quality? I don't think so. However, on any given day, in any given football match, I mean, England scored in 4 minutes today. But if they don't score, the frustration builds, the anxiety builds. So football's such a fine line. Would I expect England to win? I would. However, if they lost, would I be shocked? No, because I don't think in world football right now, we have a standout dominant side that we can all go, wow, Germany are going to win. Wow, look at Brazil. Wow, Spain. We don't have that in world football now. And that's a great opportunity for somebody to grab it with both hands and say, well, we'll be world champions for a little while, or we'll be European champions for a little while. Because, Spain dominated for 4 to 6 years, France before that, then Germany came. And they were teams that you would go up against and go, I don't think we're going to beat these teams. Yeah. So it's the best opportunity, I think, any international team in that last 4 have got to win something until somebody great comes along, which Belgium we thought might have been that team and haven't quite done it. So England have got every single chance. And if they don't take it now, when are they going to take it?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, isn't it? Because they have a real young squad, which, I mean, clearly if they have this experience of winning, it's only going to make them even better.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to Denmark, the thing with Denmark is they're one of the teams. They're very similar to Italy in the sense that they play without fear. They play pressing. They play their philosophy for the whole 90 minutes. They don't really change it. They will press the whole game. They will look to score goals the whole game. There's not a plan. They'll change their formation. Italy is a bit more rigid in that. Italy doesn't really change their formation. 4-3-3. Denmark do sometimes change the form. But the thing is, they're the 2 teams that's impressed me the most, because no matter what, whether it's 1-0 or 0-0 or 2-0, 3-0, they are still just going to attack. They're the 2 teams that actually play with no fear at all. They will play their system. They'll play their philosophy. The scoreline doesn't really matter. They're just going to keep going and keep playing. So I do think in that sense, they're a dangerous team if England start underestimating, because no matter what, the whole game, it's going to be like today where once Harry Maguire scored, Ukraine dropped their heads and that was it. They were gone, and it took an injury for them to start showing some attacking purpose in the game and change of formation. That's not Denmark. Denmark will play to attack, play to score, no matter what. Whatever formation they play, they will play the same way. And so I think in that sense, they have to respect it. But that's one of the reasons that also I think it may play to England's advantage, because it's not a team that is going to be afraid to attack. They're going to leave gaps, they're going to leave options, and then it comes down to who's got the better players. And you'd expect England's better players to create better chances, and that's what it's going to come down to. So, yeah, I do think England have got a really good chance to at least get to the final.
In terms of the other semi-final, Liam, what have you made of Spain so far? I mean, they seem to be kind of flowing through with some struggles. Do you think they've got enough to beat Italy?
Of course they have. But everybody has, and that's what I'm saying. Spain is Spain, The thing that I think Dill and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and one of my big frustrations with England is we seem to chop and change identities and strategies and formations with whatever's fashionable. So we're very much in the kind of Jurgen Klopp high-intensity press right now. Before we were in the German style, then we were all getting used to tiki-taka Spanish style. So what can we say about these kind of tournaments? Spain is Spain. They're Spain who've always played football, always been technically brilliant, never been that physical, but moved the ball really well. When they don't have a goal scorer, they struggle, which they haven't got an outright goal scorer. However, we could argue they were the first team to ever play with a false 9, and they had 5 world-class midfielders and battered everyone. So fundamentally, can they create chances? Yes, they've got a player in Pedri that I can't believe nobody is talking about, because you're talking about an 18-year-old boy. I mean, the Jude Bellinghams and Pedris of this world, they're the future. Pedri looks like an absolute Rolls Royce of a player. He's played 60 odd games for Barcelona this season. I mean, he looks like Fabregas and Iniesta rolled into one. I mean, I would be so excited. And we should be taking a Jude Bellingham and we should be absolutely moulding him in an English way, but in that Pedri sense. And that kind of leaves me frustrated sometimes because I don't think when we get a gem, we polish it enough. We lord over it enough. You know, we're always looking for faults. I would take Jude Bellingham right now and I would say, listen, you are going to be the centerpiece of my English midfield for the next 10 years. And is Rice good? Yeah, he's great. Is Phillips okay? Yeah. But every now and then you get a really special youngster. We've had Rooney, we've had Owen, you know, and sometimes you've got to take a gamble and say, listen, you're my man and I want you. So Spain can beat anyone. But Italy can beat anyone, and England can beat Denmark. So it's a beautiful thing. We can all sit here and we could all pose system arguments, culture, intensity. It's beautiful because we're all going into this last four going, we're not sure. And that's the amazing thing about football.
But I think this is so fascinating for especially this kind of European Championship because usually before we kind of have a favorite and we know they're going to go into like we had the Spain or the Germany.
Yeah.
This is the one of the first, I would say, for me watching, is where it's all open. It's anyone could win, and you know that's there. And it just for a football fan, it's exciting.
But that comes back to what Liam said. Currently, internationally, there is no great team with a lot of the teams are actually going through a transition of mixing the last few bits of the old guard, a majority of new players coming through. So everyone's on that cycle, and normally the cycle starts after World Cup and building up to the next World Cup. So I think, that's the main reason. It's been a bit more exciting.
Sorry to interrupt. If I was to play devil's advocate there, a lot of myths have been destroyed in this championship. The France Mbappe, and I'm not saying he's a bad player, but this player that everybody's spoke about for the last 2 or 3 years hasn't turned up, you know. So fundamentally, are they in transition, France? Kante, young, Griezmann, late 20s, in his peak of his career, Varane.
Now, I wouldn't put France in that category, but most of the other France and Belgium are probably the only established, settled squad.
I'd argue even more. Italy, very, very young team, dynamic. Yeah, they've got Chiellini and Bonucci. Yeah, it's quite. But Donnarumma's one of the youngest goalkeepers ever. You got Barella. You know, you got Spinazzola. I mean, Locatelli. These are players we've not heard of very much. And the English football fan will all stand up and start championing about these players because they'll all of a sudden pretend to know. None of us knew anything about some of these Italian players playing right now, and we're all gone, oh my God, where is he? But they've gone away.
That's credit to Mancini, isn't it, for picking up?
Massively, yeah.
Because
what the Italians,
but
what the Italians done, which we don't tend to do, they didn't qualify for the last World Cup. They went back to the drawing board and said, like, let's get our identity back. They're playing homegrown players. I mean, there were 2 players playing for Sassuolo I'd never even heard of before. I mean, and I watch football, you know, and I'm a football connoisseur, I'd like to think. And I'm like, but they're not afraid to go, these players aren't necessarily the most fashionable players. They are the best players for that position. And in our system and in our passion and intensity, they fit the role we need. And I think that's the only thing that sometimes frustrates me about England is the players are always changing. The system's always changing. And we're bringing players in and we're bringing them out. I think Gareth has to go, there's 7 games, whether it be Jadon Sancho, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, it's your shirt to lose. Because what you'll get with that, you'll get a player that's amazingly creative, but has no fear whatsoever. And I'm telling, that's when you start to see world class things that we go, wow. Gazza always knew he was never getting dropped. Cristiano Ronaldo's never getting dropped. Lionel Messi's never getting dropped. And that gives you a sense of indestructibility where you will try anything. And I just think that's why we're kind of talking about Saka, kind of talking about Foden sometimes, kind of talking about, and then none of them have actually grabbed that position and gone, I've got it, because they don't hold it for long enough. Now, that might be genius on Gareth's part, but it also might be stifling somebody to really go and take our country, this country, and go, bang, I'm going to be the Neymar, the Messi, the Zlatan Ibrahimovic, the Insigne, or whoever. You could choose anyone. And I just think sometimes that, for me, I think that says to Gareth isn't willing to put his money on one player.
I think he's not fully convinced as of yet. I think that's what the problem is.
But I think the thing is, you have to give credit that he still managed to create that environment where the players who are coming in, they all are playing without fear, especially the players that rotates onto the right side. So when Saka's been playing, he looks like a player playing with freedom, without fear. Today, Sancho, he looked like a player who's allowed the license to run at players, to try and make things happen. And I think it's a bit difficult because there's no one that's grabbing that shirt or has that level, both at club.
Saka's injured, that's why he's lost the place.
Sorry?
Saka's injured. He got injured in training. That's why he's lost.
Yeah. I probably disagree with both of you. I honestly think, did Sancho play okay? Yeah, but I've seen some of the things he's done in the Bundesliga this year, and your jaw's dropping. And yeah, he had that little pirouette at the end of the first half, and they were, Sancho slalom. But I'm watching Sancho do that every other dribble in Bundesliga, and committing players and doing rolls and drags and chops and flicks. I haven't seen him do any of that tonight. So he's played. He's a very intelligent footballer. He's played very safe. So I disagree. I don't think he's played without fear tonight, because a Sancho without fear is running at people relentlessly. He's giving them head. He's never playing it to Kyle Walker. Kyle, you're there when I lose it to pick up the bits for me, and then you're going to roll me the ball again, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to flick this, and I'm going to do that. And I might lose it 300 times in this game, but one of them is going to feed Harry Kane, and it's going to be the thing that we don't stop talking about all night long. So do any of them play? I don't think any of them have played without fear. I think every single one of them has been intelligent in football, run when they've needed to, but they've also passed it easily when I think...
I think the roles are different, though. I mean, at Dortmund, Sancho doesn't have to track back. He's actually stays on that half attacking mid-wing position, so that a lot of the counter-attacks goes to him, and he can do what he does best, which is commit players, run at them, and release the ball at the right time. So I think Dortmund play a system that and it's what you said, they've made Sancho their main guy when it comes to creating the chances. So he plays in a way, and the system is played in a way where he's allowed to sit off, drop off, and they look to find him. But in England, obviously, he ain't that guy yet. So when the ball comes to him, yeah.
You're talking as a coach. You're a coach.
Yeah,
and I respect that. And you're talking about systems. I'm talking about pure footballers. I'm not talking about systems. I'm talking about my ego. Yeah. I mean, let's unpick some of the games this year that we've watched. Man City, PSG. In the last 15 minutes, Neymar was dropping into his own half, nowhere near where he should be. And he was trying to take players on to make something happen. Okay. Yeah. Well, creative, brilliant players, they don't work in systems, really. They go through them. Messi doesn't work in a system. He does. Well, he gets in a position where he can be Messi. So does Zlatan. So does even Mbappe. So what I'm saying is, these players earn the right. I do what I like, and that I don't see him giving any of those players. I mean, they are all highly coached, system-driven, very much. We're looking at the Liverpool system, the Man City system, and I believe personally that's all overcoached. Because those players, and the reason why Man City failed this year, I know we're digressing a little bit, is because in the moment they needed somebody to think completely out of the box and to drive into unknown. They didn't have anybody. And they haven't got a footballer in Man City that does not adhere to any of the rules. You know, he sees shapes. I don't know if you've seen Messi's assist.
It's funny because, I mean, we were having the discussion there during the Champions League game, and I did mention the same thing, is that this Man City team is just purely based on Pep Guardiola and his way of play. And there's no other thing outside of it.
Pep without Messi, before Pep without Messi is an unbelievable system. It's changed the game. It's one of the best systems in football. But the reason he hasn't won the very top at Bayern with an unbelievable team, with Man City with an unbelievable, because in those beautiful moments of all of the times you and I, all three of us have watched football, and Zidane scored a ridiculous volley in a Champions League final. Gareth Bale scored an overhead kick. Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi scored a header against Vidic and Ferdinand, for God's sake. I mean, these are moments you sit back and go, they are the moments that football is made up of. So the systems and the coaching can get you so far, but brilliance and genius, which comes with a bit of risk and a bit of, you know, he might not track back. He might not do this. That's where the beauty lives. I swear. And as a player, that's Messi doesn't run. He scores 2 goals. I don't care how much he runs. I really don't.
I think Liam, we can definitely tell you're number 10 strike.
I'm fighting for freedom, Adil. I'm fighting for freedom of the creative.
But the thing is, I mean, for those players in those positions, that's fine. I still think those players can't do it without other players playing system. You can't have 11 players playing without that fear, without that thing. Yeah, and does it stifle their ability and potential? Of course it does. Obviously you've played the game at professional level. I've not coached at that level, but I've coached enough to know that giving players the freedom to learn, the license to play with risk, will only improve them in every facet of the game. But the thing is, you can't have a game full of geniuses. I mean, we don't have enough.
Deal. I'm only asking for one, and the system doesn't work with more than one. So that's why Zlatan didn't work at Barcelona. That's why when you get 2, it doesn't work. I'm only asking for one, and then what you do. So that's why I'm saying he has to pick one of them. He has to pick Foden, Grealish, or Sancho, or Mount, whoever it is, and then he has to say, "You have the license to show the world how brilliant you are." And our whole structure is going to set up and play through you to make things happen. Same way Kevin De Bruyne and Man City. Belgium without Kevin De Bruyne is a very different team because he sees pictures that other people don't see. So the system completely, but you need 10 players that are buying into this system. And if I'm Harry Kane, the same way Lukaku relies so much on Kevin De Bruyne, Son at Spurs relies on Kane and Kane Son. You know, you've got these interrelationships in football that are beautiful. The Iniesta Messi relationship springs to mind. They're on the same page, but if you don't play together regularly, it could be Mount Kane. It could be any of them. But all I'm saying is you need time and you need to feel safe to be able to let that nurture. Otherwise, you're going to play safe football.
But I think it's going to come because this is the first real time this whole group has come together, because they've been slowly building. And I think what the positive you can look at is it's a young group that's going in the right steps really, and that's something to build on and really create a formidable team from there. So I think that's where England fans or as a fan you can look.
I worry if England do win this tournament. I don't think that's going to happen. I think because what a lot of managers do is when they become successful with the methodology, they become like really stuck on that methodology, and they don't move away from it. They become kind of restricted by it because they put so much belief into that methodology now.
Well, do you reckon that was the downfall of what's his name, Jürgen Loh, a German manager?
No, I think that's different. I think with Germany the problem was they had a big change in their philosophy where everything's about transitions, everything's about attacking play, and they got that mentality of positive thinking, trying to play the ball forward. So the balance has gone, because what's happened is in the whole youth structure, they've gone to this system. If you look at all their best players, they're attacking players. And now what's happening, they're lacking quality defensive players now as a result, because they throw the young players in, they give them chances. Now what's happening, you're seeing all this drive towards attacking football, but you're struggling. They don't have that balance now of quality defenders. So he had to ended up going, we can outscore you mindset in this tournament. And obviously those teams that have slightly better balance ended up exposing Germany. So I think it's a problem where they're really struggling to find a balance, and they're struggling to find quality defenders.
You know what? Me and Adil are going to disagree all night. And that's the beauty of football. And that's the beauty of opinions. And that's the beauty of being subjective. And that's why I love this game, because three people can watch a game of football and a team and have completely different thought processes and feelings. I think Germany are perfectly fine. I think the only thing that they have wrong is they haven't got a Miroslav Klose. Simple. They haven't got a goal scorer. And for years, they've had you cannot play Serge Gnabry, who's a natural winger. You need a goal. They've always a Gerd Muller. They've got a culture same like that England have. England have had a culture of Jimmy Greaves, Jeff Hurst, Gary Lineker, Alan Shearer, Harry Kane. They've always had a traditional all-out goal scorer. Germany, for the first time in 20, 30 years, haven't got a Jurgen Klinsmann. They haven't got a Miroslav Klose.
I agree with that bit, that maybe they would have still done excellent if they had the striker. Because the mindset is still outscored the opposition. They're not really looking to defend without any risk. So I do think in that sense, maybe that philosophy Joachim Löw would have got away with if they had a finisher, because obviously they did create chances, but they never had that end product. So but I mean, just to bring it back to the Spain thing, I would definitely say I think Spain, as good as they look, the only thing with Spain is it feels like they're attacking at such a pace that the players struggle with it. Like the strikers aren't ready for that level of and like Pedri's playing the ball, boom, straight away. It just seems like the attacking players aren't of that level, but they are dominating teams. They are playing good football. They're very similar to Italy.
But if you were to pick one, who would it be?
From Italy and Spain, I would say Italy, only because of the fact that they're further along in their project. They're like Liam said about the combinations and the fluency, and Italy are just a bit further along, and you can see Spain are just starting that. So that's why they're missing a lot of chances, and they're not as solid at the back, is because it's still getting embedded, and their belief system in that is still getting embedded. So I would just say tip Italy slightly more ahead, just because of the fact that they've had a few more years under Mancini, really getting those combinations going, getting the fluency in their team. So definitely. I think Liam's just trying to look back in.
I think he's just had a technical issue there.
But
I mean, in terms of, if it was a England versus Italy final, how does that match up? Because obviously,
well, that's the one thing. That's the only one where I think it might be tough for England, more because the system and the way that Italy play it, and from coaching perspective, right now, England's biggest asset is flexibility. Is for me Southgate. I still think, the fact that he doesn't think like the English fan and the English pundit and normal English managers is what's making this England team good, because he's willing to change the system. He's not afraid. And you can see now the players aren't afraid of changing systems. So they now believe in that. And that's the main thing, is you could be a manager who has one system, one philosophy, and says we can beat that. Or you could be a manager that believes in changing systems. The main thing is whether the players believe in that. And it seems like the England players believe in that. So changing the system doesn't actually knock their confidence, doesn't make them think, so I do think that's the key. And Southgate reminds me a lot of when Spain once started to win things. Aragonés was more like a philosopher. He went against the grain. He went to total tiki-taka. He went to total having smaller players. He didn't care about size. He done everything his own way, but he was a philosopher. And that's what helped Spain believe in themselves and believe in their identity. And I think Southgate reminds me a lot of that. But Italy's system is the one system where I think, have England got an answer to it straight away? No. It depends on the adjustments they make. But when we see the two systems England play, it's good against most other formations. 4-3, and the way Italy play it with the high press is the only one where it worries me that England, because they're a system team, will struggle or will find it harder to find a system that beats that. But obviously he might spring a different formation.
But Adu, you still have the special players there to make the difference, I think, and they're starting to believe and they're getting the right momentum at the right time, really.
Yeah, but Italy has special players as well, and their players believe as well. So I would say that's the one game where I wouldn't be so confident. Like every other game, you've seen my predictions, you've heard my predictions. Even today, I predicted a 4-1 win. Do you get it? Because you can just tell the matchups. But that's the only one from the beginning of the tour where I was a bit iffy about.
Thanks, Adi. I mean, yeah, fantastic to have Liam on today as well. I mean, I think he's having some technical issues. But guys, thank you for watching. Do keep watching. We have the rest of the semi-finals shows coming on. And yeah, as always, please like, share, subscribe. And it's coming home, hopefully. See you soon.